We get it almost every night. And when that moon gets big and bright, it's a supernatural delight. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight.
Welcome to another bonus episode of Strange Darkness Radio, featuring your hosts Bobby Washington and Amy Tiedemann.
Everybody here is out of sight. They don't bark and they don't bite. They keep things loose, they keep things light. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight. Dancing in the moonlight. Everybody feeling warm and bright.
Welcome back to another episode of Strange Darkness Radio. This is the bonus edition, and I'm here with
Amy Tiedemann. Hello.
I would say your name, but I'm so used to Carolyn saying, "Don't say my name, let me say it." So that's why it's just easier.
Okay. Well, you have permission to say my name if you'd like to.
There we go. Yeah, to make it easier, just for the delay purposes. But on tonight's show, we have, I think, a really great episode. We have Jessica Schultz, and she has some spooky tales along with just a plethora of different paranormal scenarios and aspects of her life and all that good stuff. But before we get into that, any news, Amy, or anything going on?
No, I did tell you a few days ago, I'm hanging out at my mom's house where I had the paranormal experiences, but I do not have anything new to report.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say that. Actually, you may not be happy to hear that for the show, but I personally am very happy not to report anything.
That's really good. That's actually a good thing. You don't hear any footsteps. So hopefully whoever was there has moved on, to the next realm. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and let Sky introduce Jessica. So let's go ahead and get into the show.
Welcome to another bonus episode of Strange Darkness Radio. The supernatural world has an irresistible pull, and at times it's we who extend our reach to connect with the unexplained, just like our guest tonight, Jessica Schultz. Jessica's lifelong fascination with the extraordinary has forged a deep connection to the other side. She's ventured into paranormal investigations, participated in extraordinary encounters, and during seances, bridges the gap to the beyond. When the night brings forth spirits and the tarot cards are unveiled, Jessica's touch seems to ignite a profound connection to ethereal realms. As we embark on this nocturnal journey into Jessica's remarkable paranormal experiences, she's also poised for a mystical adventure of her own with her podcast, Uncommon Chronicles, alongside her co-host, Denny. But before Jessica takes the leap into this new endeavor, let's warmly welcome her to the intriguing world of Strange Darkness Radio.
Welcome, Jessica. Thanks for coming on tonight's show.
Oh, no. Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited. I've been a listener. I'm a fan.
Well, thank you.
And I'm here.
That's awesome. So let's get into it, definitely, because your background in the things and from the paranormal standpoint, from the all aspects of what you have been doing and into is really interesting to me because, a lot of people, especially at an early age, kind of shy away from anything that's spooky, creepy, and all those things. And it seems to me that you kind of took those things on head on. Can you tell me a little bit about your early childhood and what, piqued your interest into, the paranormal, or, was it an event that happened in your life?
It was. I guess the best way I can describe it is we've all been somewhere and you have that creepy feeling like someone's watching me or I'm not alone. And I noticed when I would go to my grandmother's house, I constantly got that. And more so in what used to be my grandfather's study. Now, we had a family cabin, and one year I was maybe 5. We went up there. It was myself, my grandmother, my mom, and I slept in the room that had double beds with my grandmother because, she was just the best. So, of course, I wanted to be with her.
This is already creepy, cabin in the woods, but go ahead.
Exactly. And, side note, it had a really creepy basement.
Oh,
and
wow.
for some reason, they put a swing down there. And as a kid, of course, you want to go swing.
Yeah.
One thing I shied away from. But in the double bedroom, I remember we went to sleep, everything was fine. And for some reason, I woke up middle of the night and clear as day, I saw my grandfather in his army uniform. And obviously he was much younger than when he had passed.
Yeah.
And he went over to my grandmother and gave her a kiss on the cheek.
Wow.
And I'm so sorry, I even get all...
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet though.
That is still spooky and creepy, but it is
yeah,
sweet.
spooky and creepy, but at least it was like,
yeah,
a good spooky creepy, maybe. I don't know how it was to you, Jessica, but
Well, I wasn't so much scared. He was bathed kind of in, it sounds very stereotypical, but he really was kind of had this white light, this glow to him. And here's the best part. So, you think maybe I imagined it, maybe I was dreaming, whatever. I go back to sleep. And the next morning, I mentioned the incident to my grandmother, at which he starts to tear up and says, yesterday was our anniversary.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
And being that age, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
wow, that's amazing.
That one always stuck with me.
Yeah. Do you know
So
how long
has she...
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
You're fine. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I was going to say, have there been maybe other anniversaries that maybe she has felt something or noticed something strange around that time as well?
It's funny you mentioned that, because this is something that I've always regretted. I never had a problem talking to her about it, and never once did she shy away from it. Did she say, oh, you're just imagining things or you're crazy? Never. So it leads me to believe that she did have incident. I always say that she still felt him around. And again, you can kind of brush that off and think, okay, well, that's cliche. It's a loved one. But looking back on it with more adult, knowledge and just knowing her, I feel like she actually did. And I feel like she had that connection the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes, it
actually,
is.
Here's
Go ahead. Okay, real quick. I just want to ask you about this. Since you were young at that age, did you often see actual, entities or ghosts or things that materialized to you?
That was the only apparition that I saw.
Okay.
At that time. And other times I just had that feeling.
Yes.
So that was the only one that ever, and to this day, that was the clearest one that I've ever seen in my life. I did go ahead and I would think that I would see shadows in my room move. And again, being young and your parents telling you, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing in the dark. Well, now I know better. So I can look back on it, but recollecting it's always, a little marred. But I was going to say, when my grandmother finally passed, and this was, a good 20 years later, the day after she did, I was in my parents' living room, and clear as day, we hear, but only my mom and I heard it.
Yeah.
So much that I got up thinking someone was at their door, And my dad looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You didn't hear that knocking?" And even my mom was like, "I heard it. You hear it?" And of course, there's no one there. So he poo-poos it. He's like, "Okay, you guys, I get it. You're grieving."
Yeah.
And maybe 4 days after that, we're sitting again in the living room, and he gets up from the couch and walks over to the door. My mom and I look at each other and we're like, "Why did you go there?" And he's like, You didn't hear those knocks?" "Mom, did you hear 3 knocks?" And he said, "Yes." And I swear. So again, I think that she clearly had a good grasp.
Yeah.
Good sense of humor.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. It's and then, a lot of people don't like to admit, that they're hearing things, or they'll brush it off, so I don't know if it's out of fear or out of, no, it's just something else. And why is it that a person like you would feel something, that's in a room, opposed to someone next to you who they don't feel anything. They're like, what are you talking about? And that's very interesting. It just goes to, the whole thing about a person has this ability that the others don't, or it's not as common. Even though, a lot of mediums say, and psychics say, oh, everyone has the potential or has the ability, but you have to hone it. But then there are some that you just feel it, like you just, there's nothing that you need to do, because you're always wondering, like, why do I hear this? Why do I smell this? Why do I feel this?
That's exactly it too. And I did, as I was growing up, like I said, that feeling of someone watching me, someone else being there. I'm not going to lie, it did creep me out sometimes. Yeah. And I think gave me a little bit of a fear of the dark, or being, in a room by myself. And it would kind of overwhelm me, to where, like it would be one of those things where, like, I'm running down the hall, flicking on all the lights just to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So there are times where I definitely kind of envy the other part of that. And
so after seeing that at your grandmother's house, now, were you feeling comforted that you saw your grandfather, or did that kind of make you a little bit fearful every time you went over to her house? Like, what were you thinking after that happened?
It really felt like comforting, and it just felt like a lovely experience.
Yeah.
He had passed when I was so young that I never got to know him. So that did feel good. But at her house, when I would go and play in his study and, mess with his things that I'm sure he didn't want to be messed with, that definitely had a different feel. Scary. So, scary things kind of came a little later.
Yeah. It's funny because when I'm talking to people about these incidents, I say to myself, oh man, I wouldn't have done this, or I would have done that. Right. And then I hearken back, think back to, my own childhood and, my encounter and various encounters. And it just dawned on me as you were talking, it just dawned on me that I actually wasn't scared. Like, I didn't do the whole light thing. I didn't, not want to go into the house or go into the room. And all these years and decades later, that just dawned on me that I didn't pay it no mind. I was more inquisitive about what is it. Let me, why did it do what it did, and how can I see it again, or how can, this exist, and how can this be? So that was more of my journey, in the whole paranormal realm. So I have to stop saying that that I would run, or that I would do this, because I never did, So that is interesting. But yeah, that's an unbelievable story. So
yeah.
As you grew up, is it just something like I was speaking about, to where you were just something that you wanted to get into or follow, or you were, curious about?
Completely. When I was, maybe let's say preteen, I was already reading books about the Warrens and following, every, little show that would pop up about, let's see, like aliens, paranormal, just whatever I could get my hands on. I had a fascination with it. And it's funny, as I got into high school, my friends and I, and it was actually the guidance of my friend's mother, who is very intuitive, and her whole family seems to be. She started us on seances.
Oh,
and
Wow.
When you told me you did it, I didn't think it was that early, but okay, this is good.
Yeah, actually, I have to tell you. So my first seance, this is a good one. So I was spending the night over there. And I don't remember if it was, because it was close to Halloween, or perhaps just because she had 3 teenage girls in her home and she had to do something with them. But she suggested, let's go ahead and try a seance. So she lays out the whole scene. We set up a couple of candles. We're at the kitchen table. And she kind of calmly does almost like a meditation with us, and a guided meditation. And we all calm down. And then she says, go ahead and open your eyes and let me know what you see. And again, clear as day, I saw this little table next door. It just had a couple of like defining characteristics about it, but it was bathed in this blue light. And after all was said and done, I explained to her what I saw. And she later told me, or after everything was done, she told me that was a table that she had had in her bedroom growing up. So looking back on that, I kind of think it was almost her, maybe not projecting it, but since she was the one leading it, that's what I picked up on.
Yeah.
Was her energy from that. So cut to, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, we all think, okay, well, we already did it. We can do it again. We don't need mom. We can just light a few candles.
Wow.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we waited for their parents to go to sleep. And my friend and her older sister were there. We lit this giant candle. And I should note now that her parents always slept with the door open and were extremely light sleepers. We would have the TV up an extra notch, and they would know. So we were down there, and my friend's older sister starts to lead the seance. She does the same guided meditation. Everything's pretty much the same. Says, open your eyes, tell me what you see. And I didn't see anything, but I became just filled with anger.
Yeah.
And I knew it was my own emotion. It was one where it almost had me shaking. I was so angry. And at the same time, my friend just burst out into tears. So it was in a matter of minutes. Everybody went from happy-go-lucky, we're all calm, and just embodied these emotions. And it felt horrible. So my friend's older sister decided to go ahead and, shut things down. And she starts trying to, I guess, to close out the circle. And the light of the candle, the flame, there was no windows open, no fans going.
Yeah.
It had been burning there for a good 30 minutes. And it just flickered, went straight out.
Wow.
At which point that did me. And I remember I screamed bloody murder.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So first of all, we all felt that we were only there for maybe 30 minutes doing this. We looked at the clock, and apparently we had been sitting there for about 4 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly. And so by the time that I had screamed, it's about 2:00 in the morning. And there's no way her parents wouldn't. We asked them the next morning, they heard nothing.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Wow.
So that's one of my creepier experiences.
That is terrifying, actually. Oh my goodness. That's very bizarre that the second time you did it when the mom wasn't there, that you had such negative energy.
Right. And it felt like, again, almost like we didn't protect the circle good enough. Felt like things came in. Whereas before it was just, like I said, just like open your eyes, tell me what you see. Maybe, there'll be little projections. Not so much this time. Not at all.
So do you have like any idea of what that could have been? Is there something in that house maybe that could, negative energy?
I truly had no idea. It felt completely random, but at the same time, it felt like our two emotions were connected.
Yeah.
So what it was, knew each other, or were there for each other, but I didn't feel like it had any connection to us personally. It was just all around weird.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
That is, because I would be concerned about possession. That never entered into you guys' mind?
Not at the time.
Yeah.
We were just so like, hey, let's try this. This sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And looking back, we were probably very...
When you tried to close the circle, it actually worked, opposed to leaving the entity, in the home or attached to one of you guys. So yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So I'm curious, did the sisters ever try to do that when you weren't there, like with their mom on their own, or even without the mom when you weren't there, and like what their experiences were like then?
Well, it's funny. So the older sister, she actually is very psychic, and she does her own thing, and they have a live stream seance every Halloween.
Are you serious?
So, yeah.
What? Wow. Okay, can she come on the show?
That and
fascinating.
Or we need to pipe into their live stream. That's crazy. So in a crazy in a good way, not crazy in a bad way, because I just find it very interesting. So they don't get attachments. They're not concerned with, things being let out that can't be put back.
No, especially so first of all, the mom's still a part of those seances. So
wow.
she's good. But my friend, as she's gotten older and kind of honed her own, skills.
Yes.
And embraced her own intuitiveness and mediumship, she's learned how to go ahead and fully protect herself.
Wow.
She's good. Really, the circle of white light, banishing that should not be attached to me. She's got the tools now, but
that's pretty cool.
Then I think it was just dumb luck.
Yeah.
We were just very lucky.
So they're basically channeling things like because do they allow themselves to be possessed to say what's happening or who they're talking to or what's going on, or is it something that is just how do they get the information from what they're experiencing, whatever entity or thing is in that circle?
Right. She calls it downloads. She'll actually say that someone will pop up, and sometimes they're very clear as to who they are, and other times a little bit more mysterious. There's some back and forth, but she definitely opens up that connection, and I guess she just sets a good ground rule before starting. And she takes it in. And honestly, sometimes afterwards, she will be really drained.
Yeah.
Like physically drained. There's times where, it just takes it out of her. And there's other times where it was like, wow, that was nice. It was good for them to pop in.
Yeah.
So
okay. Have you partaked of any of those current seances, or you don't do that no more?
I haven't done an actual guided seance since.
Okay.
But occasionally I'll pop in on hers, and she does have something called Drunk Tarot. And it originated because she's amazing at doing tarot cards. I can only really do it after I've had a drink or two. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, so now I feel a bit more open. So that also, I think, speaks to the fact that I'm not very comfortable with letting something come in and channel me. So I have that block up. And perhaps that just helps break that inhibition down a bit.
Yeah.
But every time that I've read tarot cards in that manner, they've been pretty spot on.
Wow.
So that's our drunk tarot story.
That is so. So
then we need to have. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Amy.
I was going to say, so we're going to have to have Jessica have a few drinks and then come back next time and then give us like a tarot reading, I think.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I expected to see a YouTube video that you were going to point me to of your drunk tarot card reading, because that would be pretty awesome. You might want to add that to your repertoire of your podcast. But that's pretty amazing. But so being that you were exposed to all this, I won't call it the dark side of things, because it's not a lot of people refer to the dark side if you're doing something that's dark in the sense of calling up demons or trying to, allowing yourself to be possessed, just stuff like that, meaning you're allowing entities, and by allowing yourself to be possessed, meaning you don't know what you're doing when you bring them in to what the outcome could possibly be. So so you weren't going that route, but you still were diving deep into, the paranormal.
Yes. Yeah. I don't dabble in, I guess we'll call it the dark arts or dark occultism. And I think one has their own, it's a sliding scale, because I know some people think anything occultish is because you're already.
Yes, because what happens is if you're saying, okay, I'm trying to get in contact with my grandfather or a friend, a loved one who passed, and people will say, well, that's a demon. It's not really a loved one. It's acting like a loved one because that's what you want it to, to call. So therefore it takes the form, from your mind or from what you feel, and it transforms that, which again, I don't really believe that. I do think there are those entities out there for sure, but I do believe there are ghosts. I do believe there are people who pass who aren't done with life, or don't want to go to the other side for whatever reason, and they fight it. Like I probably would do that, but but yeah. So I think there's that part of it. So do you go down these avenues because you're trying to find out that question, or why do you go down those avenues?
This is going to sound almost cliche, but I felt pulled.
Okay.
I feel like I didn't necessarily seek it out. And I know it sounds silly after I said, oh yeah, I wanted to know everything about it. Yeah. And I did these seances, but past that, and that was curiosity. Past that, everything that has happened, I really feel came to me, and to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so I just felt, let me go ahead and embrace this.
Yeah.
Let me actually explore it a little bit. And I've had, speaking of the friend that I did the seance with, she has since passed.
Oh, wow.
And I have felt her come in, and never once have I called upon her or have I to channel her. Yet there are things that will happen, and not only do I just feel like someone's there, but I know it's her. And there will be things like little, inside jokes and all of a sudden I'll see something about that, or songs that we would always listen to or I associate with her will pop up on the radio out of nowhere. So that's how I kind of attribute that to those people. But I think you're very right. I don't know for sure. I don't think we know for sure.
Yeah.
No matter what technology we have, what feelings we have. I mean, I feel very confident.
Yeah.
But, who's to say when I, head over to the other side of the veil, I'm not just completely surprised and find out that, that wasn't you this whole time.
Exactly. So, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. Did you guys happen to have any type of pact to where if I go before you go, I'll say or do this?
It wasn't, I think it was an unspoken pact.
Okay.
I feel like, how I honestly feel that we were soulmates.
Yeah.
It just felt like the other half of me. And the funny thing there is that we became friends very, very randomly. We met in high school, and it was actually a month or two in. We knew of each other, but didn't necessarily seek each other out to be friends. And there was just this random incident, and all of a sudden we began talking, and it just sparked, and we were friends, thick as thieves ever since.
Wow.
But our family had known each other for about 2 or 3 generations before. And we're intertwined, and we had no idea. So because there is that pull, because there was that connection, and she knows that I would want to know.
Yeah.
I think that's why.
What about, that's amazing. I'm curious about, how about the mother and the sister? Have they had any feelings of her coming to, send them messages or anything like that?
All the time. And more often than not, what's funny is it's usually sarcastic. It's like sometimes loving and it's wonderful and I'm so glad she was here. That was comforting. And other times it's like, well, she kind of came in and was like, okay, well, you're being stupid about this, or, just basically the same thing she would say in life. And it's a little tap on the shoulder. And thinking to Bobby, what you were saying about people passing over or fighting the light. My theory there is that I think you can do both. I think both of them are true. Like there are definitely people who do not want to go. But I also feel like you can go, and if you have, maybe just that deep connection, like let's say you saw a child here or another loved one, or there was something traumatic. I feel like pop back in.
Yeah.
At least I hope you can. That's
I think that's very comforting to think of it that way, Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Opposed to getting sucked in a machine that's on the moon by aliens pulling souls and trapping them. No, that's another podcast. But anyways.
The mental image I got with that.
So now you didn't go back to the seance side, but you did go to the investigative side of the paranormal, which is very intriguing and something that I'm thinking about diving into myself. And so, have you guys, how long have you been doing investigations?
I would say a good 20 years now.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
But it's not like I'm going out every weekend and doing it. But, here and there, I've definitely been doing it. And it started with, there was this Portuguese hall in the town that I grew up. And every year we would have this festival, the Holy Ghost Festival. And this place was haunted beyond belief. And we had several incidents there. So when we got older and we asked to actually, can we just have the keys and go there when it's, dark and everybody's gone? And they thought we were responsible enough to do that. And we started really kind of poking around at investigating. And I guess I just caught the bug.
So, have you, do you guys do EVPs and all that good stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Because
EVPs, dowsing rods, the EMF meter.
Oh, you do the dowsing rods?
Spirit box. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I don't see that too often anymore these days. So how is it that? Because I know they're used for water. Is it for energy? Like, what's the concept with using the dowsing rods?
The dowsing rods that I use are actually, they're copper.
Oh, okay.
And it just sort of, honestly, I just enjoy it. And I think it's a physical way to actually get an answer back. Okay. Granted, EVPs, you hear it. The spirit box, you hear it. Mm-hmm. EMF meter, you can still gauge it. But I think it's just one of those. But
the concept is it that it's drawing the energy from the being, if something's in front of you or in that particular area?
Well, the way I use it is I'll hold them in both hands and I'll ask base questions. And if it has, or I'll even, just ask something that has nothing to do with anything there, nothing I want to know, nothing I think they'll answer.
Yeah.
And I can see that it's almost like a control question. Mm-hmm. So I can see them. And from there, I'll continue to ask questions. And I usually say, and they're yes or no questions. For the most part, I'll ask for, if they cross, that's a yes. If they stay still, that's a no. And I've gotten great results with that. The only other thing I'll do sometimes is, can you point me in a direction of where I should go look? Or, where I should stay away. And it's useful for that too.
In the middle of the night, it's really cold. You're in pitch darkness. And then anything touches me, I'd probably scream. But,
I do.
What's
so funny. As curious as I am and how much I enjoy, I'm still a scaredy cat. So...
Yeah, that's
Well, Bobby, you did say you were drawn to it and you wanted that stuff to happen. Didn't you say that?
Well, like I said, I'm thinking about it. But so when you've gone to these particular places to investigate, you haven't come upon like a dark shadow or something that, showed its presence to you guys?
I wouldn't say anything definitively. Mm-hmm. I would say, there are times where it's like, did that shadow just move? Yeah. I don't know. But more so, what we do get is, like, we'll set down an object and both of us will walk away from it. And we walk back, or, anyone who is there investigating with us, no one's near said object. You come back and it's moved or it's askew. And the biggest one is, like, let's say you're upstairs and you hear bangs and things crashing and falling downstairs. And the second you go down there, there's physical evidence of it. Yeah. But for a fact that no one was there. So those are I guess, the more telltale signs for me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That happens a lot, and people don't realize it because you'll be in a room, even in your home, and you'll hear a particular sound or something will fall, and you'll say to yourself, "Oh, I must have placed it too close to the edge," and so you'll make an excuse up, for why that occurred or happened, and then you got your grandpa with his finger going, "Ooh," trying to push this thing off just to get your attention, and you have no clue, and he's so disappointed. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back.
Thanks for listening to Strange Darkness Radio. We value your thoughts and opinions, and we want you to be a part of our show. You can call our Strange Darkness Radio hotline at 916-741-3032 or email us at strangedarknessradio@gmail.com to share your stories or ideas. For more updates and exclusive content, follow us on Instagram at Strange Darkness Radio, Twitter at SD Radio, and Facebook at Strange Darkness Radio to join our ever-growing Strange Darkness Radio family. Stay connected with us, and together let's keep the mystery alive. Now back to the show.
So, Jessica, the question I have for you is, like, when you thought about creating or making a podcast, was it because of your investigations? Was it because of the knowledge that you want to bring to the table? Or is your podcast even paranormal related? You know, because a lot of people they're into paranormal, but they'll do conspiracy theory. They'll do just all kind of other avenues. True crime, that's like the biggest thing going right now.
I love true crime podcasts. No, it's going to have some paranormal in it, but I noticed as I kept exploring and reading different things, it would kind of lead me down a rabbit hole of different creatures, or, there's, 3 different types of Bermuda triangles and all sorts of things that I had no idea about. Yeah. And I'm like, how have I never heard of this before? And it just kind of hit me because I enjoy listening to those things. I enjoyed learning about this stuff. And I thought that it would be fun to put that out there. And it's almost, I don't want to call it like an educational podcast, but it's to go ahead and just kind of get the word out there. And Denny and I are going to discuss our thoughts on it because he is primarily the skeptic.
Oh, okay.
And it's funny because
that's always good to have.
Had some incidents now,
yeah,
and he's not open to it.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting. So then, with your different viewpoints, you can get like a lot of good debates going on that podcast. Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
So you haven't taken him on an investigation, or had him sitting on a seance?
Well, here's what's funny. So we were recently in New Orleans, and he doesn't believe in it, doesn't believe in it, doesn't believe in it. But we get to the voodoo shops, and I'm in there. I'm going to walk across the street. If you get anything from here, you leave outside of the house. And I'm like, so you don't believe, but you believe enough.
Yeah.
And we've had some things happen here at the house.
Oh, okay.
That he's seen, and I notice he's kind of coming around because he'll tell me the incident, and he will even say like, that was really weird.
Yeah.
Rather than before, he would have just been like, no, of course it was because of X, Y, and Z. And now he's like, did you hear that? I mean, maybe I saw it wrong. Well, maybe you didn't. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a good thing, about, doing podcasts and all that stuff. You're able to, just delve into different avenues, and as you go through it, whether it's an episode, whether it's how many you do, you kind of shift your perspective and your ideas. And when you hear other people, whether it's someone comes on your podcast or the research that you're doing, you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Now this explains that. It's just real informative, and it kind of helps you reshape your opinion one way or the other, because there are times and things that I, thought I believe, and then I'm like, I don't know if I believe that anymore, or I have a different skew on it after, doing the show. So that definitely is pretty cool. So do you have an idea of when you guys are going to launch your show?
Our dream date was Halloween,
but
okay. Now I'm looking at before December.
Oh, okay.
So we're giving an extra month to kind of hammer out the logistics and get things up right.
Okay. Well, that's cool. And I, like I said, you can even come back on around the time just to talk about it and, you know, to let people know, you know, when it's coming out and everything else, because I just think it'll be highly fascinating, and all the experiences that you've gone through and had is just, you know, a lot. There's a lot there for you to, you know, have knowledge about and to be open about, because a lot of people aren't, you know, oh, I did a seance, this or this happened or that happened. You know, everyone's kind of quiet when it comes to certain things. You know, you find out the school teacher is like a, you know, a dark witch, and, you know, she doesn't tell anybody. And, but you heard her on a podcast. So that's, you know, that's usually how it goes. But,
I can do that.
What's that?
I said, I can think of a few teachers that I'm sure were witches now.
Yeah, no, you'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised about the covenant out there. And but you know, there are good witches and there are witches you don't want to piss off. But but in doing, you know, your investigations and delving into all these particular things, have you ever got into the Ouija board or did, you know, something on scene like that as far as during an investigation?
No, that's actually something that I don't mess with.
Oh, interesting.
I had the Parker. I had the old Parker Brothers version when I was, you know, maybe 9 or 10,
mm-hmm.
and I would take that to sleepovers, and so I have done it a few times, but I think the more that I read and the more that I learned,
mm-hmm.
and then the more I experienced, I didn't really want to use that conduit, because for some reason and perhaps it's simply because, you know, I could be ignorant about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that maybe it is more of an open channel and
Mm-hmm.
easier to be deceived and lead to possession.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally just don't, but I have, you know, I think if you do use it and you're, you know, you understand how to protect yourself and you're more knowledgeable about it, more power to you.
Yeah.
I do find it fascinating. It's just not something I personally
exactly.
do.
I never have delved into the Ouija board. I don't think I would go down that path because again, you never know. But a lot of people do it. I had a prior co-host, and he was a Ouija board fanatic growing up, and through his, you know, early adulthood, he delved into the Ouija board. And he had some serious things go on. So I definitely can see that part. But then you also will have the people say, wait a minute, seance and calling up people in circles, you know, that's kind of like, wait, where's, you know, like, isn't that the same thing? But, you know, because of the whole thing they say too, if another entity, because again, you don't know whether it's a true ghost or a demon, but you know, there are people like yourself that can feel the difference between those two. They say you're never supposed to say their name. They're never supposed to tell you their name. And, you know, because of the power that their names hold. So, yeah, that's interesting. That's that whole concept to me, you know, I've never done any of those things. So, you know, I don't know. I would think, like you said, I think I would sit in a seance before I would do a Ouija board. I think that would, you know, I'd be down for that because I can get out of the room quickly, opposed to whatever I'm doing on the board and it just grabs your hands and says, I'm coming with you. So, you know, what about you, Amy?
I know.
Yeah, actually, when I was in 7th grade, I did used to play with a Ouija board, and now I'm thinking,
wow, she just kept that a secret, people.
That's why
just for the record,
I didn't think of that until just now. Maybe that's why I had. Yeah,
how many
you
episodes?
Listen to my story,
and not one time has she mentioned messing with a Ouija board. See,
I actually
this is what these podcasts do.
No,
they bring out all this stuff when you do them. Go ahead. Sorry, Amy.
Well, nobody asked me about it. So, this is the first time anyone asked me. But yes, I did play with Ouija boards. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. No, go ahead and say your little spiel now, but we'll definitely be getting into an episode exclusively about that. I might even bring Tony back on, but go ahead. Jeez.
No, me continue.
Yeah. I want to hear about this Ouija board just a little bit. Just give them a little bit.
I mean, I don't have a whole lot to share. I just remember in 7th grade.
Okay, let me ask you this question about it. Since you did it, we won't go into detail right here. But do you think it's something that you don't play with, or you had an adverse effect, or you would never do it again because of an experience that you had?
Yeah. Not because of the experience that I had, but just because of the knowledge that I have about them now. I would never, ever play with a Ouija board ever again. My kids have asked me for Ouija boards. Ooh. I said, heck no. I said, never in my house will anyone play with the Ouija board. I said, if you turn 18 and you move to your own home, you can have your Ouija board there,
with the rock music and rap music. None of that stuff in my house, but yet she listened and did all that. Dang, that's cool. That's cool. But I get you. Trust me.
I didn't know back then, though. I didn't know it was such a thing. So I know that now. So,
this show took a turn.
They should. I'm not going to encourage them to use a Ouija board just because I played with a Ouija board.
That is true. That is true. But you survived it. You don't have any attachments, and we haven't heard really yet what your experience was with it. But stay tuned for that one. But yeah, that's interesting. That's good to know. Any more things that you're keeping in the closet? No, I'm just joking. But we'll find those out, because as you do a podcast, things come out and things get exposed. But anyways,
yeah.
Jessica,
sorry, I kept that.
That was so funny. She's like, you know what? I've been in a cult. Anyways, sorry, people. Yeah. It's a bonus episode. It's fun. That's what we're doing. But yeah. So Jessica, in the process of everything that you do, what is your next, besides the podcast, thing you want to conquer in dealing with the, down the paranormal rabbit chute? Like a particular place you want to investigate, or,
I have a laundry list.
Yeah.
And since I've moved and now I'm closer to some of these locations, they're bucket list items. I think the next one that we are talking about going to is going to be the Bell Witch Cave.
Oh.
And
that's creepy.
People will not enter the cave, so I will be alone there.
You're going to go there alone? Oh my goodness.
We're both going to go. I think I'm just the only one that's going to walk inside the cave.
Oh, okay. That just sounds scary. Yeah.
It does. And again, I have this conversation with myself so many times. I'm like, you're so curious about it, yet I know, like, if a bat falls down and starts flying at me, or I see anything move in the dark, I am going to scream and run back out and trip on some rocks.
That's cool. Just make sure you get it on video. Make sure, or live stream. Either way, just make sure you get it on video. That's going to be interesting. Do you guys use night, lens flare cameras when you investigate, or do you just?
Yeah, we use the night vision night vision camera.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Just to see. Have you ever captured any type of figures or anything with that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Because going to the Bell Witch Cave, I mean, again, you're on that path, so it's just a matter of, the right time and right place. Because it's funny how that does work as far as the energy in the air, it just rained or it's about to rain. Sometimes it's the elements that create that particular, space for an entity or someone to manifest, because a lot of times they're trying to go off of the energy around them or the energy of you, and a lot of the times there's nothing on because it's dark. There's no power. You're usually in an abandoned place.
Sorry. Now, that's something I always say on all of these investigations is I am my favorite tool.
Yeah.
Because just no matter what you have, if you're not, I think also if you're not in the right headspace for it, then, and granted, I'm saying this, and I'm sure there are some people out there that never want anything to happen and it really just barrels right at them. But if you go in for an investigation, I think you have to kind of, want to see this and provide that energy for it. But that being said, I've also heard stories about people going to Waverly Hills, which is supposed to be uber haunted. And they walk away not having any experience.
Exactly.
And then other people are seeing the crawler come at them. So I think that up until this point, just with this particular equipment, we maybe weren't in the right spot. It wasn't the right day. Yeah. They were tired. But I'm hoping
that veil wasn't open. That slice that they're able to manipulate or get through, or that, the time, because again, it's so funny. We're so human, and what I mean by that is, time. Whether the Mayan concept and clock of time, whether it's time itself, we created these hours of time, to tell the day and. Meet me here at this time, so on and so forth. But the other side doesn't know our concept of the 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock, So it's very interesting on how, all this, plays out and works. But anything else you want to talk about before we end this bonus episode of this podcast?
Oh, I think I've spilled enough today.
Yeah.
But
no, it was really good, really informative, and people are going to be just waiting with bated breath for your podcast and to see what happens, on your investigations, because that's always cool. But go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say I'll hold a little back, and then when I come back on, once the podcast actually launches, or we go to the cave, I will have to tell you guys all about it.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Definitely. Well, this was a bonus episode. This bonus episode, I should say, was very interesting. Learning that Amy has dabbled into the dark arts, and as we continue the various different podcasts, we'll learn more about Amy's background. That's what we'll explore. But Amy, definitely thank you for joining me on tonight's show. Any last words or anything?
Just thank you, Jessica. I cannot wait to listen to your podcast. I mean, I think you have a lot of interesting stories and experience, and I'm definitely going to be listening to you when that episode hits. So,
yeah. Definitely. Definitely. We have to do like a joint podcast. It'd be pretty cool. Back to back.
That'd be great.
Awesome. All right. Well, again.
So much.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Yeah. Can you, in show description, I'll put all your information, but can you tell people where they can find you, Jessica?
Oh, yes. Right now, I am just on Instagram as me, as Smes40, but coming soon, we will actually have the podcast Instagram, and we're thinking about setting up a Patreon with it as well, possibly. We'll see. But that's going to be under Uncommon Chronicles Pod.
Perfect. Can't wait.
All righty. It's been an informative night. You guys, we will see you later for the next. Jessica's laughing because she's like, yeah, Bobby just found out some information that he did not know about. But anyways, I gotta ask Carolyn, like, have you ever anyways. But anyways, I digress. It was a great episode, good levity on tonight's show, and can't wait for the next one. Good night.
Bye.
We've had a fantastic time on tonight's bonus episode, and we appreciate you joining us. If you have your own strange and eerie experiences to share on our show, please reach out to us via email at strangedarknessradio@gmail.com or by calling our hotline at 916-741-3032. We're eagerly awaiting your stories. Until next time, stay tuned for more.
We get it on most